Time is X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
A couple weeks ago, I introduced my Mark 1/SN8 Starship Model rocket. At that point, the vehicle had completed two separate static fire tests, both tests using an 18mm SRB, with the first test having a burn duration of 0.5 seconds and the second test having a burn duration of 1.5 seconds. Since then, a lot has changed and the vehicle has completed another two tests, including a hop test. This test used an Estes C6-3 engine and was partially successful. While the Starship did get off the pad, it didn't get very far. Due to an insufficient thrust-to-weight ratio, the vehicle only hit an apogee of about 10 feet before falling back down to the ground. As the vehicle was not airborne, the parachute and nose cone were unable to eject, which led to the motor housing breaking due to internal shock. While I was certainly hoping that the Starship would reach a higher altitude for that test, I expected that this was more or less what was going to happen. I'm just happy that it actually got off the ground in the first place. I knew that a 6-N engine was likely not going to be able to provide enough thrust for a successful flight, as the rocket ended up being much heavier than I originally had anticipated. However, with all the parts of the 18mm size engine ready to go, it was worth me giving it a shot anyways. I suspected that I might run into a thrust-to-weight ratio issue since the beginning of this project, so I designed the Starship to have a quick change engine system. This allows me to change the different size engines by simply changing out the engine housing, thrust puck, and bell nozzle. Since the single 18mm engine wasn't sufficient, I have now upgraded the rocket to house a 24mm engine instead. This will now allow the Starship to hold up to a D-size engine, which is exactly what it will use for the next flight test. Before it could attempt another flight test, the Starship will have to undergo yet another static fire to ensure that the engine upgrade didn't result in any issues. For the vehicle's third static fire test, it used a C11-7 engine which provided thrust for approximately 1 second. This test went perfectly. The bell nozzle survived and the nose cone and parachute both deployed successfully. The launch pad did not change at all since the previous video, but it will soon be getting upgraded with better spotlights, red LED launch indicators, and some other cool things as well. In addition to the engine size being changed, I have also added clear stabilizer fins. As Starship stands in its real-life configuration, it is unable to remain stable during flight due to aerodynamic instability upon its y-axis. However, this isn't an issue with the real vehicle, as it has a thrust vector control system which allows the engines to gimbal and correct for the vehicle's orientation. Since my Starship does not have a thrust vector control system, to resolve this I have added 4 clear fins to the vehicle to increase its stability. At first, these fins were positioned at the sides of the central body of the vehicle, but this wasn't very efficient from an aerodynamic perspective. I then shortened the fins by about ½ an inch and moved them to the end of the canards, or ailerons, as my friend Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, likes to call them. With the stabilizers now being in a more aerodynamic position, my Starship is ready to perform its second flight test. With the real-life Starship SN8 being about a week away from performing its 15-kilometer flight test, and me not being able to make it down to Boca Chica to see the flight in person, this week will be the perfect time for my Starship to take to the skies once again. SpaceX's Starship has made quite a big impact on the aerospace community. It has changed the way that the industry views rocket production in a way that no one even thought possible just a few short years ago. Without even reaching orbit yet, Starship has already generated interest and excitement unlike any other rocket before it. When I started this project, I figured it would generate some small interest, but I never considered it was going to reach the amount of people that it already has. I've been absolutely amazed by the encouragement that I've received on this project, and I can't thank you all enough for your continued support and interest. This is just the beginning, and I can promise there will be many more exciting tests and updates to come in the future. By the time I release the next update video, the real-life SN8 will hopefully have performed its high-altitude flight test. Whether it survives that flight or not, this is still going to be a giant step forward towards occupying Mars. So go SpaceX, go Starship, go SN8. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dorvee, and I will see you all in the next video.